Oh boy, another CT side guide. Nuke, honestly, in my opinion, possibly one of the hardest maps in the game to like truly learn fully, especially T side. T side is a whole different beast, so I decided just to do CT side on this map. It's a lot easier to explain without giving a bunch of just different variables like I have to on T side, because T side is very much dictated by what CT does, and that's just kind of hard to explain in a short-ish video. So starting on as the outside player, you'll always throw a molly and a smoke each round. You'll throw them like right at the beginning of the round, so they're kind of like easy just to default on. Then you just kind of play around after that. So coming out of spawn, I'll grab my molly, kind of make my way up this ramp. As I kind of work my way down here, I'll look at this like power line looking thing. And as soon as I start running to the side to where I feel like myself going down, or kind of like when I pass this railing, I'll start moving forward. And right before I'm about to fall down, and usually your crosshair will land like in between these two power lines. Just do a regular throw. What that'll do is it'll create a molly that the T's either have to just decide to stay behind in, or they have to push. And it is a really hard molly to push without taking too much damage. And now immediately after throwing that, you know, come back here with the molly. I'll immediately come down here, look at this side of the gray box, just kind of throw a smoke down here. Sometimes I like to hesitate a little. I'll just kind of play right outside of main. Now, if you hear at least one person running through, you really want to be aiming at red. Actually, in general, you kind of want to be aiming at red, unless you don't get a sound cue and you know they like the slow push. You can use the smoke as cover. You can kind of come down here and just run down to secret. I don't really like to hold it from here because you're exposed to silo, and it's really hard to kind of like, you know. So I like to kind of play down here. I obviously get sound cues and then pushing up, and I can always just, you know, kind of do that. But generally, you'll be playing right under main. Being the outside player, you don't really rotate much, obviously, until you have to retake. Because what happens most of the time is, oh, they either come outside or they're doing an A push. It's just kind of your job to make sure that they don't make it too secret, and that you can kind of help out your A players just from main. So that's kind of it, really. Outside is super simple. It's probably the easiest spot on this map when it comes to like CT side. All right, next, so we have our two A players. This is kind of simple. It's I shouldn't say simple, but it's very straightforward and it's very linear when it comes to the way you're gonna play in terms of the T's react. So you have two of your A players. They'll both always go up ladder. Make sure you're doing the ladder attack where you're just looking at the corner and just kind of doing that, just, you know, fast ladder and stuff like that. Now the first person who comes up here, it's best to molly off. You should molly off door. So what I like to do is I like to kind of aim like above this vent. You know, just do like a run throw. And it should molly off door if the T's just do an A push. Now immediately after throwing that, I like to kind of come down here onto these, and I'll just hop on garage, or I'll hop on hut. I mean, I'll just kind of play this weird angle, you know, because usually they'll break the door open, and if they don't, they're basically throwing. So as a CT, it's always best to leave this door closed. Say they do, the T's do open up the door. As soon as that molly goes, just smoke it off. And you can just kind of hold this angle. Now, if the door does stay closed, generally what you can do, honestly, you can just make your way on this side and play this really dumb angle and help out your other A player who's either playing heaven or just back of sight. And you can just kind of punish this really hard to clear angle. It's really useful because if you have an outside player that's holding main, you don't have to worry about anything about being shot in the back, just as long as your mid or your outside player is kind of doing their job. Which I guess is the theme of this whole map. Everyone has to be kind of doing their job, you know, in order to play effective, because as long as everyone kind of understands their role, the CT side is so free on this map. That's just the only problem. Solo queue, it's really hard to coordinate everyone. But if you get like a 2 or 3 stack going, it's kind of easy. Now next we'll just do like the second A player. And just like the first one, you'll follow up, you know, you'll be the second person in ladder, kind of come up here, and you'll do something kind of similar. So instead of throwing the door molly, the first person should throw the door molly. If not, you'll throw the door molly. But if they do, you just kind of want to throw this hut molly. What I like to do is I like to kind of just find this little ledge thing and just do a run throw. it'll just molly outside of a hut. Now what I like to do, because I'm kind of dumb and I like to play aggressive on this map, I like to come down here, also following the hut player, and I'll just kind of sit right here. Now the thing about this angle is that the T's cannot see you, but you can see their legs as long as you're crouched, and it's a really punishing angle. So what I like to do is I like to play this almost like an opper. So if I see someone pushing, I'll try to get them, then just jump straight down, and now you're playing back at sight. Generally that's just kind of how you want to play that. Now if you're not feeling that, obviously you can just come up here, molly it, then just kind of fall down and play back a sight and just kind of play super passive, maybe helping out your door player or top of hut. And generally a site is really hard to push as a T, so you kind of, these two CT players kind of should have this site down and lock. Generally your hut player or your top of hut player slash door player will probably be the first one to rotate down to B. He'll probably go down ladder, not like that, but you'll just kind of go down ladder. If your outside player is calling that they're going secret, you can just kind of hold B site and just kind of catch them early. But besides that, you're just kind of going to be retaking site. Now coming to the ramp player, it is kind of like a boring, I shouldn't say boring, it's kind of like a weird position to play, because most of the time you're going to be the main rotator, because you're so far out when it comes to A, and you're going to be the first one moving down to B if they call like a B rush. So generally, you kind of start, you'll come up ramp and you'll just have a smoke and you'll just throw it, just kind of play this smoke. Usually you'll throw it better than me, and you can just kind of play a little passive, force them to kind of push back. Generally you can either come back, hide behind the tread box. Sometimes if I'm feeling really dumb, I'll hold this angle, get one here, drop down here, wait for them to push, get a little greedy like this. This is also a really hard angle for them to push you on. Try to get a few shots, and I'll just kind of come back here, hold this, and just make my way back into B site if they're pushing ramp. Usually being the ramp player, you're the first one to kind of just come down to B. If they're coming down secret, you can just kind of hold, just kind of hold B, kind of however. That's really it. There's really no util besides that smoke. A lot of this is just kind of freehand and you kind of throw it throughout the round, and that's pretty much ramp. I will say it is kind of tricky sometimes to get this kind of clean, so you can practice this, but honestly, if they're not rushing you, and you'll know if they're rushing you, you just kind of get away with messing up the jump and just kind of playing a little passive. Now for the opper, pretend this is an op. I don't have an op skin, and I'd much rather use the skin that I have than an op, but generally you're basically going to be going between 3 different spots. Most of the time you're going to be helping out your outside player or just playing Zywoo. This is what he does. He just kind of plays up here, catches the T's coming into secret. Other times you also kind of follow up here and you'll just play heaven. This is kind of like they tend to pre-fire this spot, so just be careful. That's why I like trying to play Zywoo down there. But with this angle, you can always flip between outside and help out your A players. If there's an A push, it's a lot easier that way. Or alternatively, if you want to get really dumb, you can coordinate with your ramp player, have them play a little bit more passively, and you can also hop on this angle, assuming you don't mess it up. You can hop on this angle, oh my god, with an op, and you kind of do the same thing. Come up here, hold this, just kind of work your way down. It is kind of straightforward. This is one of my favorite apps to op on. I know a lot of people like to come out here. They'll just kind of play out here, back here in garage. This isn't really smart, because most of the time you'll get smoked off and you are literally just like wasting time and space, just kind of coming back. You're wasting uptime when you could literally just be playing, once again, in Zywoo, just kind of holding this, forcing them to kind of take a few weird angles. So that's just kind of where I'd op, and yeah, that's really it. I mean, it's just kind of simple.